Hi, I'm Lauren Mayer, and this program is The Snack Machine of Life. The snack machine of life is unlimited. The snack machine of life is unlimited. The snack machine of life is unlimited. There's enough for us all. Whatever you get doesn't take away from me. Whatever I get doesn't take away from you. Whatever we get doesn't take away from anyone. There's enough for us all. I can be happy for whatever you get, and you can be happy for me. And if we don't have just what we want yet, we'll celebrate together eventually, 'cause the snack machine of life is unlimited. The snack machine of life is unlimited. The snack machine of life is unlimited. There's enough for us all. Now your success won't take away from me, and my success won't take away from you, and our success won't take away from anyone. There's enough for us all. If I feel a twinge of jealousy, I remember we're all doing fine. And if someone starts to envy me, well, that's their problem, not mine. 'Cause the snack machine of life is unlimited. The snack machine of life is unlimited. The snack machine of life is unlimited. There's enough for us all. Join me. The snack machine of life is unlimited. The snack machine of life is unlimited. The snack machine of life is unlimited. There's enough for us all. There's enough for us all. There's enough for us all. Thank you. So I love this metaphor of life as a snack machine, full of possibilities and even surprises. You know, like when you get extra change back, or 2 packs of M&M when you only paid for 1. More importantly, this snack machine never runs out, because life has an infinite supply of what we want. Well, maybe not everything we want. So a few things are limited, like Taylor Swift tickets or affordable housing. But in general, there's more than enough joy, happiness, and love to go around. And yet it is a natural tendency to compare ourselves to other people. We might envy their accomplishments, their fabulous lives, their snack machine goodies. And we start to worry maybe there won't be enough left in the machine for us. Of course, we try to rise above that. We try to remember those wise words from Shakespeare. This above all else, to thine own self be true. Sounds easy, right? Well, maybe, but I for one struggle with it. And besides, Shakespeare's characters didn't have to deal with social media. Then you might be getting, but soft, what posts through yonder Facebook breaks? It is Juliet with Portia and Ophelia at a fabulous party to which they doth not inviteth me. Ah, to be or not to be on Instagram, that is the question. Social media is everywhere. Over half the world's population now uses it, and the average person spends over 2.5 hours daily on it. Maybe watching some funny cat videos or catching up on email, but mostly what we're seeing is carefully filtered versions of other people's lives. Which is understandable. Who wants to post about reality? Here I am, enjoying lousy weather in a dumpy hotel. Hashtag ripoff. I wanted to share some photos of this great recipe I found, but I totally botched it, so it looks as lousy as it tastes. Kitchen disasters. So of course people only post the good stuff. They're creating a carefully curated version of their life. But we have to live in the reality of our uncurated lives. And when we compare them to what we see online, of course we're going to feel bad. Besides, who might also have that one friend who can't help piling on. Hi everyone, Marcy here to share my secret for making fitness part of your daily routine. Just like you, I'm super busy with a demanding career as an Instagram influencer, not to mention running 3 food pantries, volunteering at the senior center, learning to speak fluent Cantonese, and decoupaging the driveway in my spare time. I didn't think I had time to exercise, and then I thought, incorporate it into everyday activities. So now I do squats when I'm on calls, I jog at my treadmill desk when I'm at the computer, and of course I do my leg lifts and crunches while I sleep, so those 3 or 4 hours a night aren't a total waste. This whole comparison thing didn't start with social media. There have always been interviews with celebrities trying to convince us they're just like us. They do their own grocery shopping on the housekeeper's day off. They spend quality time with their adorable children when the nanny and the backup nanny both called in sick on the same day. How rude! And celebrities aren't just better looking, richer, and more successful than we are. They're also better human beings. They seem to devote all their time and fame to worthy causes. For example, I read that the actor Tobey Maguire is so concerned about animal rights, he insists that before guests even enter his home, they remove any clothing made from animal products. Anything wool or leather. Although I'm not sure whether that's being an activist or just a creative way to spice up his parties. Anyway, even if we resist comparing ourselves to other people, sometimes they do it for us. Years ago, when my older son was a baby, I was shopping with him at Target, and this other mom with a baby in her cart started talking to me. How old is he? He's 11 months. How about yours? Kendall is only 10 months, but she's very developed for her age, and she can already say several words. Is your little guy talking yet? No, he's just 11 months. He just does that babbling thing, blah, blah, blah. Huh, Kendall never babbled. But I'm sure your son will be fine. Oh my goodness, he does have such a full set of teeth. Guess he's been too busy growing them to learn to talk yet. I know it's ridiculous, but it's easy to get sucked into the comparison thing. In fact, I do it all the time. I'm doing it right now, wondering how I compare to the speaker you had last week or other guest speakers you've seen. Are they more helpful? Will I be as inspiring? But I've started to push back against those thoughts with some strategies that might help you. Now, I'm not talking about the standard advice you can see everywhere, countless experts or articles. They give suggestions that sound great, but in reality, I have trouble following. So instead, I use humor to create a new twist on these old ideas, because my philosophy is if you can laugh at it, you can deal with it. Dolly Parton is a great example of this. I mean, sure, she's a celebrity who is super successful and wealthy and probably has a more fabulous life than the rest of us, but she also has to deal with way more criticism and comparisons. However, as she says, I don't mind those dumb blonde jokes because I know I'm not really dumb and I know I'm not really blonde. I love Dolly. So today, I'm going to reframe the typical advice about envy and comparisons. See if it helps you as much as it's helped me. For example, a common suggestion is focus on your own strengths and you won't think about anyone else, right? You heard that one? Are you kidding? The only people who do that are either lying or so fabulous they know they're better than the rest of us, so they don't need to compare themselves to the rest of us, which means I don't want them in my Facebook feed. Instead, what I've found help is that I consciously ignore other people. I saw an article about Margot Thomas when she made her theater debut as a young actress, and she was terrified that everyone would compare her to her very successful, famous father, Danny Thomas. Well, Thomas, the dad, got it, and so for an opening night gift to his daughter, instead of sending the traditional flowers, he sent her a beautifully gift-wrapped pair of horse blinders with a note suggesting she use that idea to block out what other people were doing or thinking. He'd learned in his early days as an actor that when he was focused at all on other people's reactions, criticism from the critics or the audience, it would inhibit his performance, and he did much better when he blocked everything out. I tried this myself. I learned this several years ago when I was taking musical theater dance classes. Now, I was not very good at it, and I certainly wasn't very good when I started. So I was super self-conscious about making mistakes in front of the more experienced, wonderful dancers, which I admitted to a friend who was in the class one day. And she said, "Are you kidding? No one is paying any attention to you or to anyone else. Take a look. They're all completely staring at themselves in the mirror." So I looked around and she was right. No one was watching me. Whether I did something great, or I fell flat on my face, or I made weird faces. In fact, I did that a few times just on purpose to see who noticed. No one did. You can apply this strategy to social media. My now grown kids love to tease me about how slow I am to catch on, and I still don't get the whole TikTok thing. But I did learn that you can mute people on Facebook without unfriending them, so they don't even know, which I have found super useful. I've got a few friends who like to post endlessly about their trip to the south of France or their amazing gourmet kitchen remodel. Sometimes, to be honest, I just don't need to see that. But when they're done with their trip or their kitchen, or I'm in a better mood, I just unmute them. But see, here's the beautiful thing. They'll never know, but I feel much better. Okay, here's another standard piece of advice I've seen a lot. Count your own blessings, and you won't envy anyone else. Again, sounds easy, but I've tried. I can't really do it, and then I get stuck in this awful spiral of envying other people who are better than I am at not envying other people. So I try to remember that despite what you might see in articles or on social media, almost no one has it all. I was once hanging out with a good friend on the deck of her amazing home, admiring her fabulous view, while she told me about her hilarious but disappointing experiences with online dating. I started thinking, I feel so guilty about having a nice husband when she has to deal with dating. And all of a sudden she blurted out that she felt so guilty about having a nice house while I had to deal with renting. I told her that I'd been thinking the reverse of the same thing. We both had a good laugh, and then we agreed to be glad for each other, as well as grateful for what we had, without feeling guilty. This usually works, but every now and then, if I need more help, I'm embarrassed to admit I make up stories about fabulous people having problems. Oh, sure, she's a rich, gorgeous, successful supermodel, but I read she has chronic bad breath. Oh, gosh, Donna and Jay's photos from that cruise look fabulous, but I bet they come home with sunburns and mosquito bites. I once played a private party at the kind of mansion where you think at first you've walked into a hotel and not a private home. They had all of us musicians on a dinner break in the enormous eat-in kitchen, which had seating for, I kid you not, like 20 people. And as I looked around, I noticed they had ants. At the time, I was living in a dumpy studio apartment, and I certainly didn't have an eat-in kitchen, but I also didn't have ants. Now, before you think I'm a horrible person, no, I don't really wish for bad things to happen to people who seem to have more than I do. But when I imagine these little annoyances balancing out their snack machine goodies, at least it cracks me up, which makes me feel better, and thus I'm less likely to get sucked into the envy spiral. Another suggestion you see all the time: use comparisons to motivate you to work harder for your goals. Seriously? When I'm feeling envious by comparison, I have even less energy and motivation. So when I want to escape comparisons, I go the other way and slack off. Wow, my sister just ran her 3rd marathon in a month. No way I'm going to even come close. In fact, just reading her posts is so exhausting, I'm going to put my feet up, have a cup of tea, and read a good book. Which all the experts always say is a good idea, right? Well, it turns out it is actually better for you than trying to keep up or getting motivated to try harder. Struggling to match someone else's fitness goals, especially when you're not ready, can lead to stress injuries. I also saw this great study that said that when people win the lottery, not only were they more likely to run into financial problems, so were their neighbors. In fact, those neighbors were far more likely to go bankrupt because they started buying things they couldn't afford to try to keep up with the lottery winner next door. So slacking off is better for you. Finally, almost any article or book you'll find on this subject will advise be your own competition. Compare yourself with you and no one else. As Eleanor Roosevelt famously said, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. And she's right, but what she didn't say was, how do we stop giving that consent even if we don't want to, since it is so natural to compare ourselves to other people, which then makes us feel inferior. But if we can't always help it, why not find the right people to compare ourselves to and in the appropriate context? I'm not talking about looking at someone who's worse off than I am. I mean, that doesn't make me feel better. That makes me compare myself to people who have far worse problems than I do, but complain less, so they're better people, which makes me feel like a horrible person. Like I said, this is something I struggle with all the time. Instead, why not adjust the context? For example, when Carol Burnett was growing up in Hollywood, she believed you could only be a show business success if you looked like Elizabeth Taylor or Tony Curtis, which made her pretty discouraged. But then she realized, heck, she'd be fine. People were always telling her she looked just like Tony Curtis. Or for me, instead of comparing myself to the speaker you had last week, I remember, who wants to hear the same talk 2 weeks in a row? No matter what I do, at least I'm different. And actually, that really is the point. Embracing what's unique about ourselves. Carol Burnett certainly did that, made quite a career out of being unique. And while we might not be as famous and successful as she is, we can follow her example by celebrating and embracing our own strengths, which is way easier to do if we've had a good laugh at our natural tendency to compare ourselves to other people. Like I said, if you can laugh at it, you can deal with it. So I want you to take a moment to think about something you're uniquely good at, what people sometimes compliment you about, what you know you do well, even if you're afraid to admit it to yourself. It can be as big or as small as you like. Anything from, I'm the world's most celebrated nuclear physicist, to, my family loves my tuna casserole. So pick a skill. I want you to feel good about it. Really embrace that feeling. And let's try a quick exercise. Wherever you are, if you can physically, I want you to raise your arms. Take in all that positivity and light. Celebrate it. Feel it flowing through you. Reach your arms up. Reach them behind you. And pat yourself on the back. And while your hands are there, you can give yourself a quick shoulder massage. Then I want you to reach your arms back up and take a bow. Because in the words of Dr. Seuss, today you are you. That is truer than true. There is no one alive who is youer than you. I don't want to be anybody but me. I like who I am, what I have, and what I can do now. And there's no reason you can't feel the same way too now. We can all be glad to be ourselves. There are things I struggle with, but it's okay. In other ways, I'm doing way above par. So let's celebrate what makes our lives great. We can all go far appreciating where we are. 'Cause I don't want to be everybody. Anybody but me, join me. I like who I am, what I have, and what I can do now. And there's no reason you can't feel the same way too now. We can all be glad to be ourselves. When other people's shiny lives make life feel unfair, I look at what I have and I feel lucky. Posts that people share can tempt us to compare, but that's a recipe for feeling yucky. Oh, I don't want to be anybody but me. I like who I am, what I have, and what I can do now. And there's no reason you can't feel the same way too now. We can all be glad to be ourselves. Oh, I don't want to be anybody but me. I like who I am, what I have, and what I can do now. And there's no reason you can't feel the same way too now. We can all be glad to be ourselves. Everyone can see I'm glad to be me. And it's also true, you're glad to be you. Everyone can see I'm glad to be me. And I've been so glad to be here with you today. Thank you so much. I'm Lauren Mayer. Bye.